There is a podcast about an island in the North Atlantic where people have been looking for an incredible treasure for more than 200 years.
Hello, welcome back to Could It Be, an Oak Island podcast. I'm your host, Deidre White, and my co-host is my husband, Dustin White.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, we had a really fun week this week, huh?
Wow. Yeah, there was a lot going on in this episode.
A lot of information, a lot of things we've never heard of before.
I totally agree. I'm really excited to actually dive straight into it with you today.
Yeah, so seismic scanning testing results, huh?
Yes, what we've all been waiting for.
You can't get excited about that. It's time to go home.
Yeah, they're pretty exciting revelations there. Had you ever heard of the Megabin before?
I had never heard of the Megabin area before. That was a complete and total shock to me.
Yeah, well, it's so new that you just kept calling it the money bin.
The money bin. Money, money, money.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. But yeah, it's exciting possibility.
So the Megabin area is an area that's about 600 feet north of the Money Pit.
Yep.
Is what they told us. And that is an area that Dan had drilled about 40 exploratory boreholes in the area back in the 70s, right?
Yeah, back like 40, 50 years ago.
And then when he found the anomaly that the seismic scan had found, he thought it was a relief area, a latrine, if you will.
Dan told Rick and I years ago that he had drilled that well, the so-called latrine hole, and he believed at the time that it was the relief area for an underground chamber where people were working. And he was quite sure.
He was absolutely certain.
And he kind of drew something just like that.
When the workers are potentially, doing their work and digging down at, 150 feet, you can't keep coming up to the top every, 2 hours to go to the bathroom or whatever.
It totally makes sense. I know he was drilling those boreholes just to look for additional tunnels that he believed connected to the Money Pit area. Just cracks me up, the idea of a latrine down there, and that's what he happened to find.
Well, that's what he thought it was. Mm-hmm. So there's also speculation that it could be just where the real treasure is, mm-hmm. and that the Money Pit itself was a decoy because it's underwater.
I thought that was really interesting because the anomaly that they said they found in the seismic scan was only, 50 feet underground up there?
Yep, but that's above the water table.
Which is something that Dan Hinsky also pointed out a little bit later.
Here's the Triton shaft, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
This is what they believe is a cavity of some sort. This is only 50 feet deep.
So that would be above sea level years ago.
Yes.
It's away from searchers' excavations pretty much guaranteed, isn't it?
Yes.
Nobody ever really did much there.
Right.
Yeah, that's his breakout moment of the season so far.
Totally agree.
I like that guy. I hope he gets some more screen time.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
Well, he's been around for a long time. He was doing it with Dan Blankenship back in the 70s, so he knows his stuff about Oak Island.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear a little bit more from him and what insights that he would have.
Yeah, he's someone I would love to pick their brain sometime, like he knows Oak Island.
Yeah, I mean, he has spent a lot of time there. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a bit more, I guess, about the seismic results that Eagle Canada presented.
Yeah, when they showed up, they were welcomed by our friendly giant, Mr. Alex.
Yes, they were.
Jeremy Church went over the results. And that's when we first learned about the Megabin and the potential
anomaly there, right?
Yeah. What did they say? 170 feet long, or 150 to 170 feet long and 50 feet deep.
7 to 12 feet in height. And
potentially with a floor and a roof.
Yeah. I mean, Marty asked straightforward, is this consistent with a chamber? With a floor and a roof.
Things are draping on top of it, so it is a competent structure, whatever it is.
Is that consistent with a chamber, with a roof and a floor?
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then it seemed like he probably had something to add there, but it got edited out.
Yes, share with us, guys. What was edited out? That'd be nice to know.
Yeah, well, they have to make it more exciting than it is probably.
Maybe we'll learn about that a little bit later. But it's really interesting because if it's only 50 feet down, I mean, that's way more shallow than anything.
10x.
Yes, than anything else they've been digging. And it really kind of, as Marty went into, goes into that point of the theories that maybe the money pit was a decoy and the treasure's hidden above sea level, which Dan
protect
mentioned, which would protect it.
I have always felt that the theory proposed by others, that the money pit was dug as deep as could be dug at the time, and then there is a tunnel that goes off from it somewhere, and at a relatively shallow depth, that created a chamber underground. And that makes so much sense because there would be absolutely no way to find that with 300-year-old technology unless you knew where it was.
Which I think is very plausible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun thing to think about. I would hope that whoever deposited it would want to keep it out of the water. Mm-hmm. Especially if they made some kind of booby trap flood tunnel system on a decoy area to get people to leave their stuff alone. I think it's a pretty...
It makes so much more sense because 50 feet underground is so much easier to get to than, like you said, like 10x anywhere in the money pit. So if they plan to retrieve it at any time later.
Yeah, or it could be just the relief area for the workers that dug the money pit, and the treasure is in the chapel vault down there.
Could it pee?
Could it pee? Wow.
Sorry, I saw
okay.
someone put
Wow.
that on Facebook and it made me laugh hysterically.
Wow. I thought I was the immature one.
You are. Oh, anywho.
Well, then they go into talking about the money bin. No, I'm going to do what you're doing, saying the money bin. No, the money pit, not the mega pit. None of these. No, it's the money pit.
Okay.
They get some results for that, and they find with C1 and H8, they may have just been a hair off to hit this legendary chapel vault.
It's really crazy thinking about the money pit and what they were showing with the two different anomalies, one more shallow than the other, and then you see the lines from the boreholes that they drew, just, nicking the side either way on H8 and C1, which explains
Basically.
some of the stuff they pulled out of there.
Well, and all of last season they kept telling us, we pushed down the chapel vault with H8 when they put the big caisson down there. And I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
sure,
right.
Sure, guys. But I don't know. Maybe they did.
I'm with you. I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, right. There's no way they just happened to push this vault further into the mud. But, okay, well,
Well,
I
there's
will
an
be
anomaly.
open now.
There's an anomaly. Mm-hmm. There's some kind of cavity down there.
Yes.
And, it's like millimeters from H8. So
And
maybe.
H8 is the one that they pulled some pretty interesting things out of before, right?
Yeah, they had pottery last year. Human bones.
Two different human bones,
Yeah,
right?
book binding and leather.
Parchment.
Parchment. Yeah. Stuff that shouldn't be, 150 plus feet underground.
I'd agree, especially the bones really kind of...
Yeah, when they were only dated from 400 years ago, that much dirt doesn't just accumulate in
No.
one spot over 400 years on top of somebody's bones. So it takes longer than that.
They're items that you would think, yes, they're definitely there on purpose. Mm-hmm. It's not just some random garbage because it wasn't found that close to the surface.
Yeah, well, you got to also keep in mind that Robert Dunfield had dug, 100 foot deep, 100 foot wide hole in that area, didn't achieve his goal, and it all got pushed back in. Mm-hmm. So
that's a good reminder.
A lot of stuff is just kind of hodgepodge buried in there. But the depths that they pulled that stuff out of was deeper than any previous searcher activity. So how does that stuff get down there?
I totally agree, but that's a really good point that anything that they pulled out of there is below previous excavations that happen.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just lower than they originally thought. So they leave Eagle Canada to share the results with the rest of the Oak Island team over at the War Room.
That's correct.
So after sharing the results, everybody's super excited and kind of talking about what to do next. They've got a couple big maps that they brought back with them after meeting with Eagle Canada. And it sounds like Craig is going to be heading up the next step in the process as far as the money pit goes.
Yep. He's going to be choosing where they drill the exploratory boreholes in the Megabin and in the money pit.
Yes, which is super exciting because they're going to actually be doing something a little bit different this time.
New technology.
Yes, so they're going to use sonic drilling. And here is actually how they explain sonic drilling to us.
Unlike regular air or mud rotary drilling, which uses powerful drill bits to literally grind beneath the ground, sonic drilling uses vibrations to create a high-frequency sound which can literally pulverize obstacles. A coring barrel is then used to extract samples of earth and objects from areas as much as 500 feet deep.
I mean, it's a simple strategy, right? Find something in the money pit.
Yeah, so luckily they don't need to go quite 500 feet deep to get, their target. But, it's an exciting new technology. I'm glad they're using it on Oak Island, and who knows what we're going to ultimately find with it.
Yeah, a lot of new technology this year, including the sonic drilling.
Yeah, we found a little bit during the episode with it, where they were drilling down at around the, 100-foot level. They encountered some wood.
Approximately about 100 feet, but they started looking at the spoils, I think he said around 90, 93.
Something like that.
It was interesting to see the drilling. You can take samples out at every 10 feet in 10 feet intervals. They're put in what look like little sausage casings and presented to them on the table, open them up and see what's there.
Yeah, and they've got the geologist Terry Matheson with them
Yes.
to look at all these spoils and examine them. And yeah, they did find the wood, probably the roof of a collapsed tunnel.
Wood? From a tunnel?
So they hit what they think to be the roof. They go down and it's only about 3 feet further before they're back into clay. That's why they're suspecting that is a collapsed tunnel. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But what's great is it's really the first time they've proved this whole seismic thing, right? X marks the spot.
Yep.
There it was.
And they went to the right spot. The ultimate goal for that hole is to get down to the chapel vault. Well, what they hope is, in that anomaly.
Mm-hmm. But of course, we didn't get to see that this episode.
Yeah, maybe next episode.
Hopefully. That was pretty exciting. I know.
In the coming weeks, we'll see it.
So Rick and Charles end up joining them out there. And they're super excited about the wood that's come up. Everybody agrees we need to get it carbon dated, see if it is part of the original work.
That's right.
Well, great. What else do we have going on
Well,
here?
we can't forget that at Eagle Canada, they also touched on the potential flood tunnel system.
Yes, that...
Something I didn't really super believe in.
Me either, but the further I've been digging into this, the more it could be a thing. It probably is.
Like a French drain system? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but it sure looks like, on the seismic scanning results that there was some kind of underground pathway, basically, from the money pit leading to Smith's Cove.
A bigger branch, or what was the term they use? A bigger network of tunnels or a system under there, which totally makes sense to be flood tunnels.
Yeah, so that's something we're going to need to keep an eye on. And I'm sure they're going to do some drilling testing in that area too, the sonic drill.
Which actually I mean, reminds me and should be brought up that when they were at Eagle Canada, they had mentioned, hey, we still have lots of number crunching and
Yeah.
such to look at. I get a feeling that the guys were kind of getting antsy and really wanted to be able to move forward with whatever it is they were doing for the season. So that's why they went out there, got the information that they currently had ready for them.
Well, and it gives them good targets, something to go after in the meantime until they do have the full testing results.
I agree. It makes sense for them to wait until they get that if they're putting this time and these resources and money into doing it. But going through that much data, that's a lot to do. So I'm be really interested to see what else Eagle Canada comes back with.
I'm sure they'll come back with some really interesting things. And I'm really curious.
Especially with those flood tunnels, which actually brings us over to
Smith's Cove.
yes, I thought we would see a lot more about Smith's Cove in this episode.
Yeah, not so much, but they've got to build the cofferdam first.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
And that's what they did this episode.
Well, at least they got started on it.
So out in Smith's Cove, they had finally set up the 300-ton crane.
Huge.
So, yeah, huge crane so that it can basically build the cofferdam.
Yes.
It used a hydraulic hammer to put the pylons in, and so that they can install the 120 interlocking steel sheets to keep that water out.
Yeah,
And they're not just set on the bottom of the beach. Those sheets and the pylons go down 25 feet.
yeah, that's deep enough that they aren't going to have the same issues that they've had with cofferdams in the past.
Yeah,
Like,
we were talking about the water seeping under.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really frustrating.
I can
To
imagine.
put all that work, all that effort, all that energy into building the cofferdam, only for water to squeak underneath of it to, not make it as, make it extra hard for your excavation work.
Yeah, which happened with, the bladder system that they had out there. They were kind of getting that seepage.
Well,
so
it was just sitting on the surface, right?
exactly. And
And
then
that's
with
Dan Blankenship's cofferdam in the 70s. It was sitting on the surface.
Yep.
This goes into the soil deep.
yeah, the sand, the gravel, whatever it is. So you're not working in constant flooding conditions.
Yeah, we're trying to find the flood tunnels, not
Flood the flood tunnels.
exactly. Yeah, it's already what's happening, right?
Yes.
So it's super exciting to see work start on that in Smith's Cove. Mm-hmm. And who was out there doing the supervision this time? Was it Jack was out there, wasn't he?
Yeah, so we had Jack and Peter were out there initially speaking with Irving, seeing where things were at as far as progress goes. Sounds like they're right on track. They expect it to take about 3 weeks to get all the work completed and then be able to hand it off to them.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that means between this episode and next episode, 3 weeks will go by so that we can start doing things in Smith's Cove, because I know that's what you're most excited about.
I am, but after these seismic results, I'm really excited about the mega bin. I really am, and wanting to know more about that and potentially what is going on there. Hopefully it's not just a latrine. It is, maybe that's where our Ark of the Covenant is.
Oh, I hope so. That'd be sweet.
It would definitely be much drier.
Yeah, and not ruined, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be... I'm excited about the mega bin too, but I don't know. We still want to know what that U-shaped structure is.
Yes.
And in the Behind the Dig with Maddie Blake before this episode, they were talking about there was an L-shaped structure down there too on
Yes.
Smith's Cove that hasn't been getting much airtime. Mm-hmm. But that's interesting.
It
So there's
is.
more than one structure down there.
It's one of those, is it more than one structure? Is it a piece to the U-shaped structure? Was it an original cofferdam, for when they were trying to put in the box drains?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, if it was that old, I don't know. You'd have to think that maybe they would give us some idea of that. Like, they've been talking about the U-shaped structure for over a year now on the show. Mm-hmm. And Dan Blankenship, I don't know. I've just never heard anything where they think, oh yeah, that's got to be from the 1500s or whatever. You know, it's something tells me that they kind of already think that it's after the original depositors, but who knows? I mean, they haven't given us much on it, so all we can do is speculate.
Exactly. There's always something new coming up, like a megabin or an L-shaped structure. Craig did mention earlier about using technology to read the rings on the structure, right, to see how old it is.
Yeah, because you can go basically back in time, looking at these rings. You know, it hard to explain.
Yeah, people have been able to read the rings in a tree.
Yeah, but like something that's like 200 years old, you're not gonna. It's harder to find that information like you're not going to find it in a new tree. So you have to find a tree that's that old and then get core samplings of it and see how different the rings are inside of it. And then you will see, but say in 1610, there's, you know, a certain kind of ring. They can compare that to a tree that they had core sampled from that would also have that specific ring in its 1610 spot, and they would be able to verify that this wood was from a tree at this time.
That makes sense.
And so it's difficult to figure out, and it's kind of really difficult to explain. Super interesting. Don't know if they'll be able to do it or not, but cross our fingers. Rick and Marty show up at the Cove, right?
Yes, they do. They show up just to check in, see how things are going. They're impressed how fast the work seems to be going.
They really want to get out there and start working. Get Gary out there to start metal detecting.
Yes. And hopefully he's going to find some more friends of the Cross.
Drayton's Cross.
Friends of Drayton's Cross.
That's right. Well, speaking of Gary.
Yes, so speaking of Gary, they end up out at, was it Lot 26?
Yes, that's where the pirate James Anderson used to take up residence. And apparently Samuel Ball used to own Lot 26 back in the day too. We haven't talked about Samuel Ball
At all yet.
Yeah, they haven't mentioned him at all in this season of Curse of Oak Island.
Out on Lot 26, they are metal detecting on the shore.
Yeah, with Mike West, our friend that seemed a little unprepared in the first episode to do such a big job, but he seems to have gotten over that, and he's digging deep with these guys.
Yes, it's Mike West, Jack, and Gary all out there. And they are, well, Mike is scanning with his larger, deeper machine.
The EM61 can detect metal up to 20 feet deep.
And so when he gets a hit that's much more shallow, he's having Gary come out.
Verify. Mm-hmm. And then Jack is the muscle.
Yep.
He goes and digs it up.
So they end up coming up with 3 different surface finds while they're metal detecting.
Yeah, they weren't too deep. So Jack was able to pull them out of the ground.
Yes.
Get his green shirt dirty.
That's right. Get the infamous green shirt dirty. First, they found the really long metal spike.
Yeah, that was way longer than I would have expected to see of a spike, on a beach on Oak Island.
But Gary goes on to tell us if this was a wharf, if this was a dock, a
would
boat
have used
slip.
that type of spike. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just we're not familiar with those tools, so it just came as a shock. Wow, that thing's huge. Mm-hmm. But yeah, probably the 15, 16, 1700s, that kind of thing was
totally makes
like a nail.
Right? Yeah, no, that totally makes sense, especially considering that it was Captain Anderson's lot.
Yeah. Well, if he had a pirate ship and he was loading and unloading things, that kind of stuff you're going to find there, along with the next find, the giant metal hook.
Gary explains to us that this would be used potentially for loading cargo on and off boats. This is all things that are very indicative of having boats tied up to the shore here and unloading, offloading.
Yeah, well, when I first saw it, I thought, wow, maybe Captain Anderson was the real inspiration for Captain Hook. Yeah, I was like, oh.
That's funny. Yeah, some reason I doubt it. It's probably for offloading things like treasure.
Maybe.
Could it be? Or
Could be, I
something
guess.
else
Why not?
completely uneventful and not as exciting, or it could be.
Sure, why not?
And then what they leave us with is when they pull up something very small,
Very special.
what they're saying is the crossbow bolt.
Look at this! Oh, shoot!
Yeah, that was pretty unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Gary said that kind of thing is really old. You know, that's basically pre-Columbus.
Templar old?
Could be. That's what he thought.
Templar, baby! I'm using the T word.
That's right.
Yeah, well, pre-Columbus, it just blows my mind that anything prior to 1492, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue, would have end up on Oak Island. Who knows? It could have been put there in 1800, right? Mm-hmm. But it looks old. Gary, I trust his judgment in dating things, or at least getting into the right ballpark. Mm-hmm. So
Putting us on the right path, in the right direction.
exactly.
And when they call up Rick, they're pretty excited.
Well, he showed Rick what it was, or he showed Rick, hey, look at this, and Rick knew exactly what it was as soon as he saw it.
Yep.
He's like, that's a crossbow bolt.
Yep.
Yeah, so, I trust Gary. That's probably what it is. But on Facebook, shortly after the airing of the episode, I showed you a post that somebody made of this, like, what was it, an eel? Like, it was like, it looked like a
bunch.
pitchfork.
Yeah, it
right?
did.
But it had, like, the barbs on the end of each of the little prongs each of those little barbs looked like what Gary pulled out of the ground, or Jack pulled out of the ground.
Or maybe it was, and it looked like if something could have belonged to King Triton. So, that's possible.
Sure. Under the sea, yo.
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
There was something else I saw on Facebook that someone compared it to being that looks similar.
yeah, a Roman crossbow bolt. I saw one of those that looked exactly like it too.
Really?
Yeah.
That's,
So I take Gary's word. I bet you that's what it is. It's a crossbow bolt.
well, we get a little bit of a teaser later that says that it's Roman. It appears to be Roman, and Gary's like, yeah!
Yeah. Roman baby.
That's
I think that's
right.
what he said.
That, if that's the case, that's really exciting.
Yeah, sure is. Who knows? We won't know. That could just be clever editing, and that could be talking about something else.
Oh, yeah.
The show
We've
is
seen
known
that
to do
before.
that. Yeah, they do that kind of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. But I don't know. I don't know that they would get our hopes up like that.
They might.
Maybe.
It just might be more of it's Roman and then something else is Roman. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm excited for the next episode.
Yeah, I can't wait. This find isn't a Bobby Dazzler.
No.
It is not shiny. It's a weapon.
Yeah.
And it's an ancient weapon. So I don't know. I'm excited about the potential for them to do some
Testing.
just research. And that's what next episode's probably going to be. They do, basically, they find something. The next episode, they research something. So
carbon dating, probably the wood.
yeah. And they could probably do that with the spear too.
And then they're doing this. Maybe it's a lot of trips to universities next week.
Could be. And then they will also, if we get out into Smith's Cove next week and they start really, the cofferdam's in place, they start excavating over there. Maybe we get the wood from the U-shaped structure and carbon date that too. Who knows? I kind of think that's probably a couple weeks down the road, though.
I think we're still not going to get a bunch on Smith's Cove on Tuesday. I think we're still going to be checking in and it's almost going to be finished, but it's going to be more information, like you say.
Well, yeah. And, like I was kind of touching on, this next episode will probably be, people will probably call it recapping, but it's more of researching the finds that they have made. And then the following episode will be, going and doing some more discovery. Yeah, so another thing that I'm looking forward to, another one of their Discovery episodes that has to be coming up pretty soon, is that 90-foot stone.
That's really exciting.
And I don't think it's a recipe for making red glass.
Fine. No, I don't think it is either. Not really.
Yeah,
Even
you
though
do.
that would...
You do.
I kind of want it to be. Even though it's not.
I know, but that's coming up real soon. You know, that's something that I'm super stoked about. For some reason, I want to know more about that stone. Like, I don't know.
We have a lot of pieces to the puzzle, as Rick would say, but this is literally a missing piece.
It is. And I've done some research and studying about what this stone was and who saw it back in the day. And it's not that thin piece of thing they keep showing, the thin piece of stone that they keep showing at the beginning of every episode. You know, it was a big, huge block,
Yeah.
stone. And I don't know, the preview of the season after the end of the first episode had like a small little snippet of it, and that looked consistent. And I hope they really found it. Doug Crowell, historian, he's kind of like, he does a lot of researching, and they had gone on expeditions with him in prior seasons to look for this 90-foot stone. And did they really find it? I'm crossing my fingers. I hope it's the real deal. So last week we had
our first Clotworthy moment.
The Clotworthy moment of the show. And it was between Gilded, as in gold, or Secret Recipes, written in code.
That was my favorite.
Well, that one won.
Yay!
And it got 75% of the vote.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So, I agree. I think that was the Clotworthy moment of the show. So I think the fans got it right. What do we have for this week's Clotworthy moment?
Hang on, I've got 2 clips for you.
Wood from a tunnel? A large void located at a depth of 160 to 170 feet?
All right, so go to Twitter. You can look us up. We're at Oak Island Pod. Vote for your favorite Clotworthy moment of this week. And next week, we will give you the results for this week's Clotworthy moment.
All right, so that is the end of our show, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And if you want to interact with us, feel free to find us on Instagram at Oak Island Podcast.
Or on Facebook at Oak Island Podcast.
Yep. And you could also give us email, and we're happy to read emails on the air. So please get us an email. And guess what? That's at Oak Island Podcast at gmail.com.
Yep. And as you know, you can also find us on Twitter at Oak Island Pod. So that's the only one that is different.
Yep. But if you know anybody that's into Oak Island and they don't know about our show yet, please share it with them. And if you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating.
Yes, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify,
Stitcher,
or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a wonderful week.
And until then, could it be?